The Mobcast Network.
Hey, Travelomedy fans, this is Jon Selig, your host of the Comedy Hostel Podcast. Just wanted to give you a little bit of fair warning that thanks to me and my lack of sound engineering ability, there are some challenges with this episode. Maybe they'll be mitigated by the time it's fully edited and released, but there's some feedback. There's also some echo at some point, so please forgive. I take full responsibility. And I think you're going to want to power through this episode because we have some great guests. We also learn about a couple of people who are really doing good down in Nicaragua, and that's the focus of this episode. So, guys, we're going to talk Nicaragua. Thanks so much for downloading or checking us out. Episode 9 of the Comedy Hostel Podcast. I am your host, Jon Selig. I'm a Montreal stand-up comic. I love to travel. I don't get to do it enough, so I like to live vicariously by speaking to other people about it. And on this podcast, this is comedy, this is travel. We throw them up on a Venn diagram. We present you with the intersection, you lucky math nerds out there. And you are to be congratulated for listening to this episode because it's going to be special. It is the first episode. We're really taking the time to focus in on a country, and on this episode, our 9th, we will be discussing all things Nicaragua. I visited Nicaragua in February. I went for a grand total of 10 days, just enough to flee Montreal's ridiculous winter and get addicted to the gorgeous sunshine they have there. But this country offers so much more than just some shelter from our frigid storms. Really an eye-opening experience for the sheltered Canadian. It's actually the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And tourism, there have been some improvements in the country. Tourism is really steadily increasing over the last 10 years because this country just offers so darn much. Not so much in the way of tourist attractions and things to go look at and you know, take photos of, but just because it's a fantastic place to wander around, to observe, to experience, participate in the culture a little bit, and there's no shortage of photo opportunities as well. You know, while I was down there, I saw more volcanoes than at my grade 8 science fair. I visited some local markets where I saw some really strange things. I rode the chicken buses, which we'll probably talk about. I ate my share of Pinto Gallo, and I saw some of the nicest sunsets I've ever seen. I've drank some of the best rum I've ever had, also some of the cheapest. That is, if you like getting drunk cheap, Nicaragua is a great place to do it, and the hangover is really not that bad. Met some really friendly locals, watched others enjoy the incredible surf that they have. Like, I don't surf. I have really bad reactions after drinking salt water, so it's something I stay away from. But the people who love to surf rave about the waves in Nicaragua. And my co-host for this episode is going to be Martha Chaves. Martha is a Canadian stand-up comic. She's Canadian in citizenship, but she's actually born in Nicaragua. She moved to Canada in her teens. Today she tours all over Canada as a professional stand-up comic, and she performs in English, which is her second language, which is to be commended because she's able to make a living doing comedy in her second language. I barely get laughs doing it in my first. That just blows my mind, and we will talk to her about how she ended up in Canada, some comedy, some insights in Nicaragua, but we're really going to turn, ironically, to a guy from New Hampshire as our Nicaragua expert. He's a gringo, he's a travel blogger, he is expert vagabond, Matthew Karsten. His blog, where he'll run us through what he focuses on that blog, his blog is expertvagabond.com. He's going to join us from his home in the Granite State, New Hampshire. Thank you, Breaking Bad, for reminding me that New Hampshire's nickname is the Granite State. And he spent 4 months traveling around this country, and we are lucky enough to grab this guy for this episode while on break from his travel blogging adventures. And more kismet. I got a note on Facebook from a guy who is visiting Montreal, and I met him when I was down in Nicaragua. He is originally from the States, and we met at a place called Madeiras Village. And we're going to have the guys from Madeiras Village on some other episode. And DeWitt Foster is doing all kinds of amazing things while he's been spending time in Nicaragua. He started up a charity to give back to the community there and to help out and to make a difference. And he happens to be in Montreal, so he is also going to come to the brick wall here in my kitchen, and we're going to talk to him about what he's up to. And then even after that, we're going to try and connect with someone else I met down at Madeiras Village who was staying down there and started up their own charity called The Latitude Project. I'm going to speak with Jennifer Tynan. If we don't have time or can't get a hold of her, we'll just talk to her another episode. But really, a major theme is how North Americans are not just visiting, but really giving back to the community there and making a difference. So this episode of the Comedy Hostel Podcast is sponsored by me. It's actually entirely sponsored by me. I run a stand-up show every Thursday here in Montreal at a place called M Bar, which is the downstairs bar of M Montreal Hostel. It is affiliated with Montreal Central Hostel, so if you guys are staying there or any other hostel in town, you guys should come have a drink on Thursday. You guys should watch some pro and semi-pro comics do their thing on stage for a bunch of other travelers. Locals come out. It's a fantastic time. The only constant you'll see on the show each and every week is me. Maybe I'm working a good set. Maybe I'm trying some brand new stuff on you guys for the first time. But this show, seriously, it's an awesome time. We've had people do Just for Laughs, Melbourne Comedy Festival, Halifax Comedy, New York American Arab Comedy Festival. Really, our performers come from, really run the gamut, performing even across the world. We've had French and German and American comics, Australian, New Zealand. It's been a really good time running this thing. So check it out every Thursday, 1245 Rue Saint-André, just on the edge of Montreal's Gay Village. And stick around. You're going to love this episode. Thanks.
You're listening to the Comedy Hostel Podcast with Jon Selig on the Mobcast Network.
So we're joined in my kitchen by national touring comic Martha Chaves. She's a Nicaraguan native. She's done Just for Laughs, Halifax Comedy Festival, Winnipeg Comedy Festival. Have I left anything out?
Yeah, but
Tell us
okay.
Tell us what I left out. I need to know.
Oh, you know what? It's a cool credit that I have. That is one of my proudest credits. Is that I went as a delegate of the Nobel Women's Initiative to Mexico, Central America, to listen to testimonies of women victims of the drug wars and sex trade, and it was very interesting. Why did they choose a comic? I don't know, but I became a lot more committed with human rights causes because of that.
Is this is not the name of your next one-woman show?
No,
okay,
no, no.
And on my left, we're also joined by a gentleman that we're going to talk to about his charity, DeWitt Foster. It's Total Kismet. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well? Excellent.
Me, yes.
No problem. It's Total Kismet. DeWitt happened to be in town on a day that I'm recording a podcast focused on Nicaragua, and I met him down in Nicaragua, and he's going to join us in the latter half or latter third of this podcast, that kind of thing, and we'll hear what he's up to and how he's making a difference. But right now, my co-host for the week, Martha, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me, John.
No problem. So what brings you to Montreal?
Well, the opening of Yak Yaks.
Mm-hmm.
I am my agency is Yak Yaks, so they have clubs everywhere, but they haven't had one in Montreal in a long time. I think they only had one in the 80s.
Yeah, something like
a comedian yet.
Something like 1980.
So now they came back. So I am opening, actually. I'm a special guest of Dave Foley from the Kids in the Hole.
Excellent.
Who is so funny, and that's what I'm doing.
But you left Nicaragua. You were mentioning to me at an earlier age, and tell us your story about life in Nicaragua, and then why Canada.
Because, well, I had an uncle who lived in Canada, and I was 17 years old in Nicaragua. The revolution was going on. My parents were terrified that my sister and I were going to get involved in the revolution, because all the young people that went to Catholic school, like we did, were getting involved in the theology of liberation and all of that. And my mother found my diary and found out that I was a lesbian. and then in order for me to stop seeing, she'd read in one of my diaries, I had two, the one that I left laying around for her to read, and the real secrets. The real secrets. So she found the one with the real secrets, and my uncle lived here. She finds out that I'm dating a girl, so she thinks that
she thought she had the other diary. She thought she found the plant.
I wish. That's a good twist, She would have found the, but then they sent me to my uncle to separate me from this girl. And they sent me to Montreal, which is like Disneyland for lesbians. Have you seen the gorgeous women in Montreal? It was like Monique, Marie, Natalie, Joanne, and then they lived to Guatemala, my family. I was already here. But they go to Guatemala when thinking that the war was going to end in Nicaragua, and then they stayed in Guatemala. And then, so they have lived in Guatemala the 35 years that I have lived here.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
It's crazy.
So have you visited Nicaragua in the last few years? When was the last time you were back?
I was there in 2005. I was there and I went to, I have a friend, a poet. Everybody in Nicaragua, right? Is a poet.
When I was in Granada, it was the Poetry Festival.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of a festival is built around poetry? But you live, you learn.
You live, you learn. Did you hear some of the poetry? Because for me, that would be torture.
I heard it, but I didn't understand a word.
I know, but when you see a poetry reading, people are quiet. And for me, I'm used to being comedy shows. Noise is important for us. To hear the audience
reaction.
But for poets, the audience has to be very quiet. So the thing is that this poet friend of mine invites me to go to launch her book about this crazy queen, Joan de Mal from Spain. So, I accept. I have never met the woman, the poet Joconda Belli. I have never met her. But we developed a friendship by letter. She was a big shot Sandinista at one point. But she's not anymore, and I'm not thinking about how this looks, how my association with her looks for the rest of Nicaraguans. They probably think I'm coming in, she's an enemy of Rosario, of the wife of the president. So she probably thinks that I'm coming, it was complicated. And then I wasn't there, all the emotions that I never felt in 20, almost 30 years. Not one family. I travel a lot, but in Nicaragua, I was looking at faces as if I knew them to find a familiar face. Nothing. It was very emotional. So the day of the show, the day of the actual show, the whole it's not even in the theater. It's in the lobby of the theater. I don't know why they gave her only the lobby.
What was happening inside the theater?
Who knows? It's like they just put these chairs. They were children. They were old people. That the National Theater with the candelabra that looked like Imelda Marcos earrings, so we were just underneath that. And they don't even know, they play because the Nicaraguans are crazy and they play the national anthem for everything. So, you don't know that for a book lounge, they're going to be playing the national anthem at the National Theater where I can see the volcanoes I haven't seen. Candles were surrounding the stairs because the Queen of Spain was nuts. So, so they put the candles. So they don't even introduce my name. I go cold. They don't even say, they just say, now Martha Chaves, you could hear, clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack, me going on stage to host this event, right?
So were you doing comedy?
I was supposed to be doing comedy, and I had never done comedy in Spanish, let alone comedy for Nicaraguans. Remember that here in Canada, I am the outsider. I can look a certain way, older woman, and people don't assume that I have to have a husband and children and the things like the people I grew up with. So the thing is that I go, when I see that it's going to be impossible to do comedy, because there were children, old people, I just started talking crazy. Because it was the book about a crazy person. Of course, they didn't get it. I bombed. Because I didn't get it, I bombed. I introduced Joconda. I introduced her to come and read her book. And then I go in the back of, because I was so mortified that I didn't do well. When I couldn't do well. There was no way that I could do well under those circumstances. Comedy.
I do, unfortunately. But you're known for doing well most of the time, whereas for me, that's a normal experience again.
No, but it was impossible. It was like a funeral pile. People from Solem, the Solem people of Nicaragua. El Doctor Carlos Tunerman Verde,
There is some bravado, yeah.
All of these intellectuals, that came to see this boy. So the thing is that I am in the back with my listening to hip hop like full blast because I want to forget that horrible moment there, and I don't realize because I have the bass. Do you say bass? Full blast that there is an earthquake. So I am in the back room, like the earthquake. Somebody comes and gets me. And I see all the people listening to Joconda fly as if they were given X-Lax. And they had to go to the bathroom in a hurry. So I saw this opportunity to redeem myself. And I go on the little stage and I say, wait. What better way to die than with Joconda Belli? I said, here, the poet. And then some people waited and I recovered. But then, because I did Rosario, and I spoke bad about Rosario, the wife of Ortega. 2-3 days later, that night I bombed. The next night I
You were in prison.
The next night I go to do a show at the La Ruta Maya. You know the Ruta Maya in Managua? It's a bar where they have a tree in the middle. It was packed like 300 people. I joined like 300 people, and I'm thinking, because the tree is in the middle of the thing, and I'm thinking Rosario, the wife of Ortega, is going to send a monkey
Poison dart.
to show me a poison dart. It was terrifying. But I could do no wrong. Everything I said, I could do no wrong. But 2-3 days later, there was an article in the paper. What a lousy comedian I was.
Oh, no.
And the introduction was Aristotle, Socrates, like, you know, people distinguished for a stand-up comedy.
Right.
And then there's a professor from Toronto defends me backhanded. People that don't know anything about stand-up, because in Nicaragua there is no stand-up.
I was going to ask that question. We'll come to that. Go on.
There is no stand-up.
Okay.
There is like vaudeville, or there is, how do you say, impressionists.
Mm-hmm.
There was one impression in Nicaragua that probably was paying, fuck, I hope that this government changes because I am tired of imitating the same fucking people. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, can I curse here?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Curse all you want.
No, that's what so there were like 7 articles, I swear, discussing me as a comedian based on a show that it was impossible for me to do, and on another show, and then this guy would defend me, and the other, and then I even forgot, I lost count of how many times. So when I tell you that I am in their enemy list, I am in their enemy list. And she hates to be ridiculed.
This would be an excellent mission. We go down to Nicaragua and we to introduce stand-up to Nicaraguan people and teach them about the art form.
I would love it, but it's again, like what we were talking, that I find that in Latin comedy, in general, like if you see the Colombian comedians, they always dress in the peasant dress, or from, let's say they would play the equivalent of our new fee. Or the equivalent of somebody Alabama or some place that you consider
some hick, basically.
Some hick place, like that's what they would play, and then they would dress in the peasant. And I don't go with that kind of.
No.
I hate.
No.
I hate that kind of comedy.
What? So you've been in Canada how many years now?
I think 35.
35 years now. And when did you start doing comedy? How did this happen? Because what amazes me is that you do comedy in your second language. It's a challenge for me in my first. So how did you get the courage to say, I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy in a language that is not native to me?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No,
I'm making assumptions is what you're saying.
No, I didn't say that. But what happened is that, how would I say, it's like, why did you decide to do stand-up comedy? Why?
Pure, you know what, it was all serendipity. I actually, no one knows this. Well, some people know this. I took a class just as a way of finding good writers. Maybe I want to do some sketch comedy or something like that. And my teacher, Joey Elias, said after these 10 weeks, you are going to perform 5 minutes of stand-up comedy for your friends and your family. And the first thing I said is, I'm not doing that. That's not why I'm here. I'm just here to maybe learn how to write some good jokes or maybe do a sketch. But by the end of the 10 weeks, I was like, I can do this. This is easy. You get up in front of your classmates every week and you read your stuff. And I was getting better laughs every week. I'm like, I can do this. This isn't that hard. And the first time was great. The second time was great. It's a drug. And then the third time, I crashed and burned so hard that it made me question many life decisions.
But it was exactly the same thing. They opened when I don't know. I swear to you that this happened. I know that I'm not superstitious. I'm not religious. I am an atheist. But I certainly that this happened. I was cross-country skiing in Montreal, and I had been reading and reading. I got this urgency to be reading because they opened the Montreal Museum of Humor, and you were reading in the paper and everything. I always loved stand-up comedy. I always understood instinctively, I think, how a joke behaves because I learned a lot of English with sitcoms and stuff, and I don't know, and then I wanted to be, but I didn't think I could. But I was skiing in Montreal, and I swear I was like
Cross country or downhill?
Cross country.
I would hope.
Cross country.
It's a small mountain.
I was reading the autobiography of Roseanne, and all of a sudden I said, I want to try this. I had tears. I want to try this.
Roseanne inspired you.
Yeah, and then I went and took classes with Andy Norman. That's how it happened. So I never thought I was going to really dare.
So you took a class too.
Yeah.
So we are like
the same
we are comedy. We have solidarity.
Yeah, it's the same experience that you shared. You just thought, I never thought I was gonna dedicate my entire life to this.
It's a drug, right?
It's a job.
It's a job. Well, for you, it's a job. For me, it's a drug. It's an addiction.
It's a drug, but in my first time, there were some women that were drunk in the crowd, like strippers. So that were heckling the MC, and the MC and them started throwing chips at each other. This was the kind of atmosphere. For 9, 7, 8 people who rose at the comedy.
How do you know they were strippers? Did they start like taking off their clothes before they were throwing chips at you?
Oh, because after it was revealed. So the thing is that they are having
revealed.
It was revealed. They are having a beef with everybody in the crowd except me. So except me, like the MC said, well, it's her first time, be nice to her, blah, blah, blah. So everything I said, they yell, woo, and they clap. And so the next day, I swear, I woke up. I don't know what was after the first time. I still remember how it was.
I still have the adrenaline rushing.
It's the biggest smile that I have ever had. I think I thought I was ready for Letterman. I was so arrogant. There was so much to learn.
17 years later, you are ready for Letterman, am I right? I've watched your clips. We're going to play one at some point. I think I already did play one at the beginning. It depends how this all gets edited. But and so where's your favorite place to perform? And do you ever think about, well, let's ask that. Where's your favorite place to perform?
Where?
Yeah.
Let me see. There are several places. I love Mississauga.
You're the first person to ever say that, I think.
I love Mississauga.
That's a suburb of Toronto that is just big and new. And I worked in Mississauga for 2.5 years, so I have no qualm saying it's extremely boring to me. But
no. I mean, but the crowds, are very. I love when crowds are mixed.
Yeah.
When there is old, there is young. When there is ethnic, there is white people. So Mississauga is demographically a lot of fun. Another one of my favorite, and this is unbelievable, is Kitchener. Kitchener, the whiter than white people.
Known for German immigrants.
German immigrants. I actually said at a Kitchener's club, oh, you love this club because it looks like an oven. Thank you.
Oh, in the Jewish guy's home, rim shot. Great.
And then what was it that I said the other day that, there is this comedian that says that, Andrew, he says that he has the Nazi cut. He said, come on. Because they were pleasant to the Nazis were pleasant. If something they were pleasant to the eye. And then he was hosting for me in Kitchener.
This podcast has turned so dark so fast.
And I said, no, take it off.
Oh, we'll leave it. I have no problem leaving this.
No, but he said that I said to the Kitchener crowd, I bet that you love the Hitler's reference. And they went, woo!
Were they on board or no?
They were on board because I have a way to work around the booby trap.
Yes.
And that's the joy, to be able to dance around it and to be victorious.
Now, if you can pull that off in front of an audience of actual Germans, you will be a master comedian, because these are probably German Canadians who have a bit more of a sense of humor about it. Real Germans don't really like to hear about this kind of thing.
No, I know. There is a very funny joke by Christine von Hagen, who is of German descent. I'm paraphrasing, but she goes, that when you're German, you're not obsessed with going into, what was it? which one? Into the ancestry. How do you call that?
Lineage?
No, but it's a page. It's an ancestry something.
Well, family tree.
No, what is it? No, but there is an actual website, like plenty of features.
Oh, I know what you mean. I know that site. I know what you're talking about. Okay, it's a site which focuses on our lineage. That
That's it. When you're there and you don't want to really know.
No, I just don't remember what it is. Anyway.
It is ancestry.com.
Yes, exactly. That was easy enough. We used the word already.
But, I don't know. I have never performed for strictly Germans. I don't know.
Okay, good.
That would probably be like performing in Hamilton.
I've never performed in Milton, so I will refrain from commenting.
In Hamilton.
So,
It's always a challenge for me to perform anywhere in Canada and to be able to communicate as people. Because, sometimes when you have an accent and you look different, they attach a bunch of connotations about you that may or may not be real. So the challenge is stereotype you. Exactly.
It's a very typical theme on this podcast. Stereotypes come up absolutely every episode, so don't feel bad about that.
So they kind of stereotype you, but I feel so comfortable now because I know. There are very few places. And I knock on wood for tonight.
Right.
Because you're never, that's one thing that you always have to know in stand-up comedy, you're never, ever 100% bulletproof.
You're never safe.
You're never safe. You're never safe. You can be the biggest person. And like the biggest comedian that there is, and then you're having a bad night.
Yeah.
Like the audience sucks. But I always say, even when I have a bad night, at least I am not a brain surgeon. Nobody's really dying because I'm doing my job badly.
The only person that's dying on stage is you.
It's me. I'm going to be up for days. Because, you know how it happens with anybody. But it's a good thing to be able, as a comedian, you have to translate yourself everywhere you play.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we've learned in our first discussion with Martha is that someone in Canada really loves Mississauga. That's an absolute first. But it's a good place. I have no qualms.
No, I don't want to sound... I love Toronto too, but let's say of the Yaks club that I love to play, one of them is Mississauga because it's huge.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying that I love the city. I've never been there.
Oh.
Excuse me, Mississauguans. But I am from Nicaragua.
This is taking a funny turn.
I never been there, but the crowds, I like a mixed crowd. I like a multi-ethnic crowd because the more the merrier. And it's a reflection of society itself.
And do you find when you perform at the downtown Toronto Yaks, it's because Toronto itself is, to me, the most multicultural place, that and maybe London, England.
Toronto, we see people from the different skin color, religious hats, and we all hate each other in perfect harmony.
Perfect. So listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a little bit of a break. And irony of ironies, we're going to be joined by a guy. We're here with someone who's born in Nicaragua. She is not going to be the tour guide for Nicaragua. We're going to bring in a guy named Matthew Karsten who has his blog, Expert Vagabond. Spent 4 months down in Nicaragua, and he's going to tell us a bunch of cool things to do in the country, what there is to see and what there is to taste, and what he loved about it. So stick around. We are joined via Skype. We have Matthew Karsten with us. Matthew is a travel blogger extraordinaire. He is, I guess you're the force behind expertvagabond.com.
I guess that would be correct.
You are a special guest tonight. You are a guy who gets paid to travel, and you actually came to see a Comedy Hostel show once upon a time when you were here in Montreal last summer, and we're really glad to have you.
Yes, that's where I met you, John. It was a good show. I remember that.
Excellent. So I want to introduce you to some folks around the table. My co-host for this week is Martha Chaves.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, Martha.
Hola.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien.
Oh.
I'm lost already. I don't speak Spanish. And also DeWitt Foster. He's going to talk about a project he's putting together, charity down in Nicaragua.
Oh, very cool. Hello to it.
Hey, Matthew.
So Matthew, tell us. I think the first thing would love maybe to have you tell us is what's your blog all about?
Well, in the beginning, it was just me kind of writing for friends and family. It actually used to be called yeararoundtheworld.com. And I was just going to kind of write about my experiences as I traveled for a year. But then about 3 months into it, I decided a year wasn't going to be enough. So I wanted to try and make it a full-time gig, and I changed the name to expertvagabond.com. And I've just been sharing my travel experiences and tips and photography from my adventures.
Excellent. So, I find it kind of ironic that we have this gringo on the phone from New Hampshire telling a Nicaraguan about what to see and do in her home country, but nothing is too unconventional here on the Comedy Hostel Podcast. So maybe, obviously, we're talking about Nicaragua today, so maybe you can give us an overview of your time there, where you went, and obviously let's help people understand why they need to go visit Nicaragua.
Yeah, the land of volcanoes, buses, and Gallo Pinto.
I have a whole 6-minute bit on volcanoes in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Really?
I do.
You
Because,
do? Oh, wow.
and not to hijack this discussion, but I guess I got to get it out because I was in Ometepe and my tour guide, not quite a tour guide, but he was the guy who worked at the hotel and he is a tour guide.
Exactly.
That's right. He says to me that that Madeiras volcano is the cousin volcano of Mount St. Helens in the United States of America. And that just blew me away because I didn't know that volcanoes could either immigrate or procreate.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even fathom how that would happen.
Family members.
And I just hope that volcanoes, I think it's great that volcanoes have cousin volcanoes. I just hope that volcanoes don't have drunk, racist, asshole cousin volcanoes. So I'm not gonna get into that. There's a whole 6 minutes of material, one big long bit that I do on that.
On the volcanoes.
On the cousin volcano.
Oh, wow. But that's the way we grow up, Nicaragua, we believe that we are unique at everything. There are other countries that have more lakes and more volcanoes, but you have to always say it. If you're from Nicaragua, here we are the land of volcanoes, and everybody's a poet.
There's definitely pride in the volcanoes. So let's get back to Matthew because we've invited him and he's patiently waited, dealing with all my technical difficulties, and now I'm hogging the spotlight. So Matthew, tell us about Nicaragua and why people need to go check it out.
Oh, there's many reasons to visit Nicaragua. I initially was planning on breezing through it in a week or two because I didn't know much about it. And as soon as I got there, I ended up staying 4 months because I couldn't leave. It was so much fun.
I know.
And,
Is the allure of the volcano tribe.
Yeah. Oh, more than the volcanoes, the people, the food, there's a lot of diverse things you can do there too. A lot of adventure activities, and I had a good time in Nicaragua.
What kind of adventures did you go to? Did you do the how do you say sand skateboarding?
The volcano boarding.
Volcano boarding, yeah.
Yeah, that was quite an experience where you hike up an active volcano with a kind of a plank of wood, and then you spend 45 minutes going up, and then it takes 2 minutes to slide down at 30, 40 miles an hour.
and then you get all that sand in your lungs, sand with tar.
Yeah. Well, I actually crashed on one of my runs and ripped the top of my head up, got blood all over my face, and had a pretty bad crash, but I was laughing anyway. It was still fun.
I want to know who the rocket surgeon is who invented the idea of traveling down a volcano on a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have snow, so they say, well, but I don't think the native Nicaraguans do it. It's the gringos.
That's right. Gringo tourism at its finest.
It's a way to decimate your population. Lure them to come and do the most dangerous sports ever. Then do you do the canopying too?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
The canopy.
The canopy tour. I didn't in Nicaragua, no. But I did some river trips down the Rio San Juan, down to El Castillo,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a
That's where pirates. had
yeah,
all
the old
the
pirate castle.
inspiration,
That was very cool.
It's cool, and they probably love you because that's the Nicaraguans are very friendly to foreigners.
Oh yeah. Oh, everywhere I went, people were very friendly to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't a problem at all.
It's the contrary that when we come here or we go to the States, that is come here, come stay, don't go.
Yeah. No, it was it was a beautiful. I had a beautiful time there. Let me think. One of our adventures that I can think off the top of my head was going to surf. Actually, surfing on Popoyo Beach.
Uh-huh.
It was an adventure just trying to get there. Actually, I remember trying to cross a river, wade through a river to get to this little town, this little village, and there were police officers like shooting behind me.
Wow.
And I don't know. At first, I thought it was on someone's property, and I was they were coming after me or something. But then these police officers, Nicaraguan police, come out, and they were I don't know what they were shooting at, but they decided to show me where to cross the river. And started taking off all their clothes.
This is getting this took a strange left turn, Matthew.
And, holding their machine guns above their heads as they walk through the river, and I was just following them. It was a little
like romancing the stone.
Yeah. But they were friendly. They ended up being friendly, but I was scared there for a second. But it was all right.
I would have been terrified.
Yeah.
Did you at least get some photos with them naked with their machine guns?
Ooh, I have the best photo actually. So after I crossed, I took a photo of one of them, and he gave like a mean looking pose with his machine gun in his hand, but he had tidy whities on. He had no pants on, and it looked ridiculous.
Oh boy, you have to post that photo.
Oh, I have, yeah. I can send you a copy.
Yeah, I think this will need to go on comedyhostel.com.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So tell us what towns you spent some time in, where you think people should go. Like, what's a good little, if someone's got, I don't know, 2 weeks to spend in Nicaragua, what's a good little itinerary for the gringos?
2 weeks. Well, so I spent a lot of time in Leon and Granada were the main spots, but I traveled all over. So I really like Leon. That's where you can do the volcano boarding.
Yeah, in Leon. But this too in Nicaragua we say it Leon too. Leon,
yeah.
That's where I was born, in Leon.
That's where you were born? Oh, no way.
Yeah, and I went to boarding school too in Leon at La Asunción.
Ah, okay, yeah. And the town is the revolution went through it, so it's kind of gritty, but I like it. It's there's a lot of old buildings that haven't been kind of cleaned up for tourists, and I like that about that city quite a bit.
Yeah, it's colonial.
Colonial, yes, exactly.
I actually really wanted to check it out, but I was kind of strapped for time, so I limited my time to Granada, Ometepe, and down to San Juan and Playa Maderas. But next time when I go back, definitely Leon is on my itinerary.
Yeah, we should go do comedy there.
We should definitely do a tour.
For the Rancho Gringo.
There you go, at Rancho Gringo.
What is Rancho Gringo? Is that a comedy club?
No, that's we'll talk about Rancho Gringo a little bit later on in this episode.
It's an invention. It's code. It's code only for gringos.
It's a great place. It's a great place, which is where I met DeWitt. So walk us through some other places you've been to. Like if people only have 3 days per town, which is kind of the way I travel, we'll just assume this is really about how I travel, which it shouldn't be, because people should be spending far more time in far more places than I get to. But I don't know, just walk us through some other great places to go in Nicaragua.
Okay, probably if you had 3 days in each town, I would recommend Leon, Granada. I actually didn't go down to San Juan, but I went down to Popoyo instead, another surf town. And probably my fourth recommendation would be Ometepe.
Ometepe, yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knows Ometepe, the little island there. And Managua is not a pretty city because there is no downtown.
I landed and I got right in a cab at midnight. I went right to Granada. I had no intention of spending time in Managua, according to my
Managua is
lonely
an
planets.
it's an ugly city, yeah.
Well, I heard it's rough if you don't know where you're going. There's no street signs and.
Yeah, the addresses in Nicaragua, they have no street signs.
All right, it's good to know that the guidebooks tell the
The
truth.
addresses are like where the little tree is, or used to be rather, before the earthquake, and then became the big tree after the revolution. 3 blocks down to where the dog died, and 4 blocks up to the sea. And then the hardest job in Nicaragua is mailman.
I was going to say I have no clue how people get their mail all the time. But do they? Do they get their mail?
No,
Okay.
they don't get mail. With that kind of address, like you don't have number or anything.
So that's why bills don't get
But
paid.
it's a secure, as far as security it is. How do you feel when it comes to like street crime and all of that? Is it a secure country?
Yeah, I felt very secure. I spent about a week in Managua, and I did visit an area where I felt a little less secure. The La Chareca,
The slums, yeah.
yeah.
Anyone feels insecure there, and the gang members, yeah, you know.
Yeah, no. So there were, but for the most part, I felt very safe. Like I was purposefully going to places that were a little rough. So for someone that's just there on vacation, yeah, you'll be fine.
Why were you going to dangerous places?
Are
you crazy?
I like a little danger when I travel. Sometimes.
Oh, wow,
I'd heard
of those. Like I have a whole bit. I have 10 minutes on that. On people that like danger.
You do?
Matthew and I will not be traveling together anytime soon. I can assure you that I'm scared of everything.
Yeah, you're scared of everything? Oh, well, I have become scared of everything. I wasn't.
That's what life in North America does. It trains us to be afraid of
but
absolutely
just
everything.
just now with everything
In my
going
apartment?
on. Not in your apartment, I mean, because of everything that is going on, we hear more about shootings and stuff like that. I feel the same sensation that I felt when the revolution in Nicaragua, when it was beginning and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving my apartment ever again.
Yeah.
You've instilled great fear in me, Martha.
But now it's like, for example, my family lives in Guatemala. In Guatemala, they try to rob my sister. My sister picks me up at 10 in the evening at the airport. She rolls down the window at a light stop to smoke a cigarette. 4 guys come and they try to hijack,
Yikes.
And I thought we were gonna die because the guys didn't have masks or anything. But then the police was coming in the opposite side, and they started shooting at one another. Guatemala is not a safe place.
No.
Nobody goes out after it's dangerous to. Don't even have tinted. You have to have tinted windows.
See, I meet so many North Americans who are going through Guatemala, and they love it. It's their favorite place. And I ask them about safety, and they're like, "Oh, it's no problem. You just have to watch yourself." But you hear such mixed things.
Well, yeah, it's true. Maybe we have just been unlucky. Like they followed us from the airport, and they thought we had a lot of luggage. They didn't know that it was only my comedy notebooks and my videotapes.
It's gold.
Well, it was gold, but not only for me, because I was moving there when my mom got sick. But.
Matthew, have you been to Guatemala as well?
I have. I spent about 2 months. Two months there. Yeah, 2 or 3 months.
Where?
I can't remember.
Where?
Again, all over. I was in Guatemala City for a while. I was in Quetzaltenango. Or Shela, they call it as well.
Oh, beautiful. In Atitlan, did you go there?
Atitlan, yeah, Lake Atitlan. And where else? There are a couple other places. I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head.
I didn't. In all fairness, I didn't prompt you to reminisce.
Talk about
No,
Nicaragua.
that's okay.
About Guatemala.
No, but this is all mixed, But I mean, I'm talking security, because if you're going to entice people to go to Nicaragua, they should know that it's a secure place.
I found it really
yeah.
safe, and I'm one of these people I'm pretty Jewish. I'm pretty neurotic. I'm always looking over my shoulder, but really I felt pretty secure there. Mm-hmm. I was on the tourist trail, but at the same time, I think if you take care of yourself, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's just my take. But then again, I'm also 6'4.5", and
Exactly.
for some reason, people are really afraid of me, even though they have no reason to be.
6'4.5", 6'4.5".
That's right. That's right.
He's a tall person.
Matthew, other than getting held up or dealing with naked policemen with machine guns, tell us a really funny story from your time in Nicaragua, or something funny about the country, something that you thought was hilarious that struck you in your time there.
Okay, well, when I first got there, I've got a little funny story for you. When I first got to Nicaragua, I went out to a very small village that didn't have any electricity or running water, with the Peace Corps, a friend who was in the Peace Corps, and she convinced me to go out there and help her build ovens out of poop, out of shit, for local families.
Building ovens out of shit.
Yes, and
I
did not know you could do that until I got down to Nicaragua.
There's a lot of North American companies who manufacture stoves who might be interested in learning about that technique.
Yes. You know what? And let me tell you,
I won't want to go to anywhere where they build ovens out of shit.
Martha never wants to go back to
You
Nicaragua.
You would think that, but then I had some pizza cooked in the shit oven, and it was delicious.
Oh!
Shit pizza.
Oh!
Wow. Okay.
It was very good pizza.
That's disgusting.
Now I'm curious to know what that pizza that. I'm not going to ask any questions of DeWitt. We'll leave it at that, because there's a really good pizza place near San Juan del Sur. So where are you going to next, and are you excited for it?
I am moving down to Mexico, actually, in like 10 days.
Oh, wow.
Just for 2 or 3 months, work and surf for a while and eat tacos.
I love your life, man.
You have a great life.
Well, I make it sound a little easier than it is. There'll be a lot of work involved.
I'm sure. Excellent. So where can people, I've already kind of mentioned expertvagabond.com to read your, people should definitely check out your blog posts from Mexico. They should definitely read all your stuff on Nicaragua if they like Guatemala. Where else can they find you?
On the web?
Yeah.
If
you want to give the address of where you're going to be in Mexico, you can do that too.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm gonna so people can come down and visit.
Exactly.
All right, the more the merrier. I write for the Travel Channel occasionally, so I'm there. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, and I've got a YouTube channel where I actually you can see my volcano boarding adventure on YouTube. I got video of the big crash, and it's kind of hilarious.
We'll be sure to laugh at your misfortune.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know what we'll do? We'll post a link to that on when we kind of release this podcast. We'll put this for people to check out. So they'll check you out damaging your upper thighs as you slide down a volcano, and blood, ends up all over so many rocks and stones on that volcano. But listen, we appreciate you dealing with our technical difficulties and the delays and joining us from New Hampshire. And listen, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, John.
No problem.
You're listening to the Comedy Hostel Podcast with Jon Selig on the Mobcast Network.
We are back after a little break. I'm back with a couple of people who I met when I was down in Nicaragua. I was staying at a place which I affectionately refer to as Rancho Gringo, otherwise known as Maderas Village. We'll talk about those guys a little bit because it's a blast of a place. I recommend anyone going down to Nicaragua who wants to relax and just hang out with some cool people. It's a great place to visit. Granted, you won't meet too many locals when you're down there, but you will meet a lot of cool folks who are just hanging out and enjoying the beach and what Nicaragua has to offer. So the first person who we're going to say hello to, we've already said hello to DeWitt Foster from the High Place Foundation. He's going to discuss his project in a little bit. But it's a bit of a reunion. We all know each other, right, guys?
True.
And Jennifer Tynan is joining us. Jen, where are you right now?
I'm in Calgary.
Is that where you live now?
I am living here right now, yeah. Both my sister and I are kind of split up throughout. Well, she's actually in New York and I'm in Calgary right now to get some things done before we head back down to Nicaragua.
And I think it's important to mention that your sister is part of your project. So maybe a good idea is you talk about, tell us a little bit about your project, what you've been doing in Nicaragua, what drove you to move down there, and what you're up to.
Great. So my sister and I co-founded our nonprofit, which is called the Latitude Project. And it kind of stemmed from about 10 years of both of us working in the realm of nonprofit and seeing a lot of things with charity itself that just didn't sit well. Even the word charity is riddled with so much helplessness, and it just got to the point where we both realized that working in nonprofit is something that we wanted to do, something that we were passionate enough about to create a career around it, but that there was quite a few qualms that we had with that world. So we formed Latitude and got rid of all the things that we didn't feel comfortable with surrounding charity and really made foundational things that were important to us: transparency and adventure and expressing the fortitude in communities, things like that. So long story short, we've had Latitude going for about 3 years now, after about 7 years of personally working in Nicaragua, and Alana's been in Nicaragua and Peru. So, yeah.
So what I noticed when I was down there, being a really lazy piece of shit on vacation, selfishly indulging my need for sun in the middle of February when Montreal is just this big ball of ice, I noticed that you and Alana, your sister, were taking a bunch of people at Madeiras Village to go do some work in some villages. Why don't you describe the kind of stuff that you guys are up to and really sort of the hard and fast, tangible difference you're making?
Of course. So the Latitude Project is different in that all of our initiatives, we work all throughout Latin America. We have committed to doing a project in Nicaragua every year and then projects elsewhere in Latin America. So when we met you, we were on an initiative that we named Raise the Roof. And we had traveled through Nicaragua a year before that, met with communities and really heard firsthand from communities that the issue that was most prominent facing people and preventing them from living their lives to the fullest was a lack of a solid infrastructure, a solid house, and a solid roof, especially during the rainy season. So we heard firsthand from communities what the issue was. We came back to Canada and raised the money, and so we went down and lived at Madeiras Village and re-roofed houses for over 450 people. And what that looks like, the way that Latitude operates, is that we work with the communities, not for them. So we brought in we bought supplies locally, brought in the means, and the communities really came together and created their own positive change. There was rosters every day of what people were going to be working on, whose house, and it was just really wonderful for us to be able to see people coming together and neighbors helping neighbors to make everyone's lives better. As you said, we did bring people from Madeiras Village out with us, and I think it's just really important to give people the chance to see what goes on in a country like Nicaragua. You can go there and not see the poverty, but it's so present. Nicaragua is the second most poverty-stricken country in the Western Hemisphere, and there's so many people that need help there and that are not able to live their lives in a healthy way. So we bring people out with us and give them the chance to see firsthand what's going on and partake in helping the communities create change, which I think is important because these people come back to Canada or the States and want to continue creating change in Nicaragua, and whether it be giving money or raising awareness or whatever else. So.
And I think that's translated because I know you guys do all kinds of fundraisers across North America, correct?
We do.
And so you're getting a lot of help from Madeiras alumni, I guess we can call it that. Are they getting involved?
They are. I mean, for anyone who hasn't been to the village, Madeiras Village is just the most incredible space for creative people to get together and share ideas. And it's really, Dickie and Dave have created this unbelievable environment where people come and they want to be involved, and they're, yeah, sure, they are, like, Medeiros Village is beautiful and you're spoiled in the way you're staying, but the people that come there are young professionals who want to engage, and we see that in the work that they do when they come out with us to the communities. But then also, yeah, once we come home, we threw an event in New York a few weeks ago, and it was astounding the number of people that showed up that were people that we had met through Medeiros Village. I even had 4 different people come up, and I unfortunately didn't recognize them, but they said, oh yeah, I was there for 2 nights and we sat next to you and Alana at dinner. And it's really cool, the kind of sense of family that place creates.
I loved it. You guys are like celebrities there. Everyone knows the Tynan sisters. They're doing good. It's great. It's really inspiring, I have to say. Like I said, I'm a guy who worked in the private sector his whole life. Now I get on stages and tell jokes while I'm waiting for the unemployment checks to come in. And it's really mind-boggling what you girls are up to, and it's a credit to you guys, and also for inspiring other people who came down there and really didn't know what to expect, and so you showed them something new, made them aware of the other side of Nicaragua.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I feel like just this past year has opened up so many opportunities for us, and the people that we've met and the relationships that we've forged has allowed Latitude to really grow. And moving forward, 2014, we have a number of initiatives. We're actually doing a clean water filtration program in El Salvador, and then we have a big education program in rural Nicaragua that we're doing a big overhaul of the schools, bringing in new materials, painting, doing new roofs, things like that. And then we're continuing our To See the Sea program, which is a really great program where we take rural children to the beach, often for the first time, and it's a program that really focuses on a right for kids to play and enjoy themselves. And so it's been really fun. It's always a struggle. I mean, we operate a 100% model, so 100% of public donations are going directly into projects without filtering through any overhead. And as much as I love slinging drinks at the bar in my downtime to make some extra cash, right now we're really focusing on getting private philanthropists and corporate donors who want to cover the overhead so that we can put 100% of ourselves into this project.
You answered my next question, which is what didn't you like about not-for-profits? But I think you kind of cover that by saying how much, what percentage goes to the actual charity. So that's great.
Yeah, it's really hard because there's actually really cool TED Talks on it, but there's this idea that charity shouldn't have any overhead, and that's not sustainable. No matter what you do, what kind of business you're in, whether it be a for-profit or a not-for-profit, if you want to have the best people working for it and you want it to operate at the best level, people need to be paid. It's just the way that comes across and how transparent it is, and also where the money's coming from. I want people who donate to Latitude, I want the people to be able to know that $100, which is a lot to them, is going directly into our actual projects on the ground, and then have the overhead coming out of something like the corporate sponsors that don't necessarily have that same pinch of that $100 being, a huge amount for them and things like that.
Have corporate sponsors been receptive?
To be honest, it's something that we've just started throwing ourselves into right now. We got Aeroplan. We set up with Aeroplan to be on their Beyond Miles campaign. You are familiar with Aeroplan, right?
As a Canadian, I am. They are Canada's biggest loyalty program, I guess we can call them.
Yeah, so they have this incredible campaign called the Beyond Miles, and we've partnered with them so people can actually donate their Aeroplan miles to us. And what that does is it allows us to offset the cost of flying down to Nicaragua or flying to wherever the areas that we're implementing projects, because that a lot of the time ends up being a massive cost for us. So that's one campaign that successfully has been rolling. In terms of other corporate sponsors, hopefully by December we'll have a few more locked down.
Great. Let's engage DeWitt here, because he's been sitting here patiently for about 2 hours.
Lovely.
So DeWitt, I met you when I was down at Medeiros Village. You were working there. Jennifer and Alana Tynan were there, and you also have started your own not-for-profit foundation. So tell us a little bit about the High Place Foundation and what that's all about.
Excellent. Well, the High Place Foundation is it's an idea that's been in my head for a couple years now. Finally started coming to fruition last year. And I've lived in San Juan del Sur, where we met, for 5 years now. And, it's a tourist-driven town, but, once you spend some time there, you see that there are definitely some gaps that aren't really addressed, because people come down there to surf or to hang out and have fish tacos. But there's the other side, which Jen, touched on as well. So, we started this last year, and our main focus is empowering young Nicaraguan girls through sports and sex and health education and mentorship and leadership type program.
And explain why that's such an important thing in Nicaragua.
It's important. It's important everywhere.
Fair enough.
Especially in Nicaragua, because it's such a machismo, male-dominated culture. And so women, even though it's a matriarchal society, so there's that dynamic, and they still get kind of pushed to the margins, women do. And so there's a high rate of teenage pregnancy, domestic abuse, female obesity, repetition or dropout in school. So, creating these strong girls to become strong women, you're also empowering the whole community. You can look through history and see that strong women are the cornerstone of strong communities and strong civilizations. So it made sense to us to try to start at a grassroots level and build upwards.
But are you getting any opposition from, well, let's just put it bluntly, males who say, hey, you're trying to change our little world, this is the way things are, or are they embracing the change?
For the most part, embracing. I haven't personally gotten any quote unquote
death threats.
I have not because of that. Not because of that.
We can talk about those later.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about that. No, I haven't really met too much opposition. As anybody who's been in Nicaragua try to run a business or do something there's always a little bit of bureaucracy, bureaucracy. So that's really the hardest part is getting things organized, getting things done. But that's also, if you have a little bit of a sense of humor and a lot of patience, that's also the fun part. You become creative on ways to get from A to B. So
great. I'm not sure what other questions I have. Anything else to add on the whole project? What's the experience been like? How's it going so far?
It's going well. We're coaching. We're teaching them basketball right now, which is kind of a newer sport for the girls. They mostly play volleyball and
baseball's pretty big.
Baseball's huge. So there's actually a women's softball league, which is great.
Do the guys laugh at the girls for playing softball?
No, they don't. They don't actually. They can actually hit harder than most of the guys.
So they're not North American.
No.
Okay.
No. We're focusing on basketball right now. We've got a doctor that's there giving them health and sex education, which is good. It's a good step away from me to not do. And yeah, we're building slowly and surely.
You guys are wonderful. You have instilled so much guilt in me, far more guilt than my parents could ever deliver to me. Listen, guys, how about this? Jennifer, where can people find out about the Latitude Project? And more importantly, how can they donate?
Oh, that can all be found on our website. It's www.thelatitudeproject.com.
Great. And DeWitt?
Also, they can do that on our website. That's the highplacefoundation.wordpress.com.
Well, I'll post all this stuff. Do you guys have Twitter handles, Facebooks?
We've got some Facebook as well.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll post it all on comedyhostel.com. You guys are awesome. You guys are doing such awesome work, and I think it's fantastic what you guys are up to. Again, you've really crushed my own sense of self-worth with the way you're spending your time and the way versus the way I'm spending my time.
You're welcome.
That's not your fault. So thank you guys for taking the time. Thank you, Jennifer, for being patient with all the production issues. Always a challenge on the Comedy Hostel podcast. So listen, guys, thanks so much for coming here. DeWitt, thank you for coming all the way to my apartment from downtown. Jennifer, Calgary, I've been there for 3 days. I wish you luck there. It's an all right place. I was there for Stampede. That was a good time. One last thing, DeWitt. I forgot to we forgot to discuss this. So DeWitt has some good comedy connections. Tell us about your connection to the world of comedy.
I do. Okay. Not that they need my help.
No.
But my sister, Kareth Foster, she is a comedian, about 10 years now.
And where's she tour? Like
she's right now she's mostly in LA, but she goes back and forth in New York, and she's been up here I think for maybe Toronto.
Great.
Comedy Fest. I don't know if she's been to Montreal yet.
Well, we gotta bring her.
I will definitely.
She should come to a fundraiser for both you guys.
It sounds like
that could work.
Did you tell Jim you got a fundraiser planned for us?
We already have a fundraiser planned. Martha Chaves has decided that she will want to join up for a fundraiser for maybe we can do it for both you guys or something like that.
Those girls, Jennifer and Alana, are like sisters to me.
We could also do 2 different ones. I don't know. There's many ways to do this, but let's
That's
just.
incredible.
No, I'd love to do a fundraiser for you guys. I'd love to be part of that. So, and to wrap up, you're also related to someone else.
Yeah.
I gotta ring this out of you now.
Okay, yeah. Grew up with a cousin of mine, Wyatt Cenac. We were actually carpool buddies in high school. He used to pick me up and drop me off.
You guys went to the same high school.
We went to the same high school.
And your cousins. Okay,
always private school.
He knows he's related to far more famous comics than I probably know. So, but Martha is extremely famous here in Canada. And guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and coming on this podcast to share what you're up to. And again, kudos to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks.
Jen, I'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
You bet you will.
Okay, bye, you guys.
Later.
Something so sublime. The women tear their blouses off, the men they dance on the polka dot. It's partner found and it's partner lost. Hell to pay when the fiddler stops. It's closing time. Yeah, the women tear their blouses off and the men they dance on the polka dot. It's partner found and it's partner lost. It's hell to pay when the fiddler stops.
Episode 9 in the books, Comedy Hostel Podcast. I love Nicaragua. I'd love to go back. It's got volcanoes, food, culture. The people were really sweet. And if you're looking for an affordable vacation, you want some beach, definitely go to Nicaragua. So worth it. Big thanks to all my guests / co-hosts. Martha Chaves, who never met me, took a leap of faith and came into my kitchen and was an awesome co-host. She's a native Nicaraguan, as you by now understand. And I was really thrilled to have her as part of this. Matthew Karsten, read up on him and his explorations of Mexico. I have never been to Mexico, so I look forward to reading that. And also to DeWitt Foster and Jen Tynan, their respective charities, the High Place Foundation and the Latitude Project. I'm going to post their details on my site, so you guys can donate. Toss a few bucks their way. I don't think any donation is too small. They're both excellent causes, and they're making a difference and making me feel really guilty about how I'm spending my life. Everything is at comedyhostel.com, including information about our Thursday show, which is a pay-what-you-can show. It happens every Thursday at M Montreal Hostel, 1245 Rue Saint-Andre. And on Halloween, October 31st, we have a show. So dress up, come down, let's make it fun. Our host is Darren Henwood, who was on episode 2. As my co-host, Scott Carter, episode 3's co-host, recently won a comedy competition here in Montreal. So that guy's hilarious. And Peter J. Radomski, who has been thrilling audiences around Eastern Canada for the last, I don't know how many years. He and I actually appeared on The Daily Show together, if you can believe that. He's going to be our headliner. He's one of my personal favorites. So you guys are going to want to come to that. It's a Pay What You Can show. Toss us a donation at some point. And also, if you want to know what this show is all about, you can go see some pictures at comedyhostel.com. I finally got some posted. You'll see some of the bigger names we've had and some of the better photos I've taken. And guys, this episode, not the greatest sound quality. I'm prepared to acknowledge that. That has nothing to do with my outstanding sound editor, Reese Turner, from the Mobcast Network. He's the man behind the Mac who stitches everything together. But we just had some challenges with some microphones and that kind of thing. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for putting up with that kind of quality. Hoping to improve that as this ongoing journey keeps plodding forward. And guys, I'm Jon Selig. You could find me at JONSELIG on Twitter. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
It isn't worth the time. And the whole damn place goes crazy twice. It's once for the devil and it's once for Christ. The boss don't like these dizzy heights. We're busted in the blinding lights of closing time. Yeah, the whole damn place goes crazy twice. And it's once for the devil and it's once for Christ. But the boss don't like these. The Mobcast Network.